In one of our previous videos, we discussed a hypothetical world. What if the Earth were flat, but physics remained the same as it is now? Back then, it seemed like a thought experiment, a mental game, an interesting fantasy, nothing more. We laughed at the absurdity of the idea, built models, tried to imagine what gravity, atmosphere, and oceans would look like on a flat surface. But what if we were wrong? What if this entire fantasy is actually reality? What if the Earth is truly flat, and the spherical planet is merely a carefully maintained myth, passed down from generation to generation through education, media, and culture? Perhaps everything we thought was proven is actually a carefully constructed picture of the world. And doubt is the first step toward freedom of thought, toward liberation from imposed dogmas and stereotypes. It seems as though humanity has always known that Earth is a sphere, but this is far from true. The history of our understanding of the world is surprisingly diverse and multifaceted, full of contradictions and sharp turns. Ancient civilizations imagined the world completely differently. Egyptians saw it as a flat platform resting on the backs of giant gods. Above this platform hung a celestial dome, across which the sun and moon moved. This wasn't a primitive delusion. It was a coherent cosmology that explained everything they observed around them. The Sumerians described Earth as a flat disk surrounded by the waters of the abyss. In the sky, they saw luminaries that had nothing to do with stars as we understand them. Their world maps, their architecture, their mathematics, everything was based on this model, and it worked for them for centuries. For the Scandinavians, the world was even more peculiar. Earth, according to their beliefs, stood on the roots of the enormous tree Yggdrasil, above which the sun and moon moved, luminous chariots. The stars were merely lights in the celestial vault, and the world had clear boundaries, beyond which something else began, something mystical. Interestingly, these concepts perfectly aligned with their everyday experience and observations. The idea of a spherical Earth only appeared during the Hellenistic era, about 2,000 years ago. Pythagoras and Aristotle claimed, Earth is a sphere. Eratosthenes even attempted to measure its circumference using shadows and geometry. But all the evidence was indirect, based on observations of stars, eclipses, and shadows. No one had seen the entire Earth. No one could rise high enough to verify the theory directly. Direct proof only appeared in the 20th century, photographs of Earth from space. These images became symbols of new truth, icons of scientific progress. But who took these photographs? And do they really show what we think? Or are they carefully created images designed to convince us of a certain worldview? And here the first question arises. If ancient civilizations saw the world differently, and all modern evidence is a product of technology and visualization, could it be that our reality is just a version created for us by someone? A version that serves someone's interests and goals? It's interesting to observe how quickly humanity accepted the new model of the world. Within one generation, textbooks were rewritten, maps were changed, conceptions of the cosmos were turned upside down. What had been considered one way for millennia suddenly became another, and no one asked questions. Today, even slight doubt about the shape of Earth is perceived as rebellion, as an intellectual crime. Try saying, "What if Earth is flat?" And you'll immediately be labeled crazy or a conspiracy theorist. You'll be mocked, rejected, declared ignorant. But shouldn't true science welcome questions and doubts? But why do we believe NASA? Because we've seen Earth with our own eyes? No, we've only seen images, digital, processed, edited. NASA itself admits that their photos of Earth aren't single shots, but composites of multiple photographs assembled together for visualization. This isn't a direct photograph of reality. It's a reconstruction, an interpretation, an artistic representation of data. And here's where the key moment appears. The boundary between visualization and illusion becomes blurred, almost invisible. When we accept pictures as reality, we stop seeing the world with our own eyes. We accept faith as knowledge, image as fact, someone else's interpretation as objective truth. Science in this case becomes a new religion with its own dogmas and prophets. But unlike traditional religion, here there are no temples and priests. There are laboratories and agencies that determine what to consider truth. And the more we trust, the less we see for ourselves. We become passive consumers of ready-made answers, instead of seeking truth independently. Despite all the evidence, despite mountains of scientific articles and explanations, there are details that raise doubts. Details that don't fit into the coherent picture. The horizon. Regardless of where you are, on a beach, on a rooftop, or at 10 kilometers altitude in an airplane, the horizon is always straight. Absolutely straight. No one has seen it curve like on a model of a sphere. Even from great heights, the horizon line remains level, as if drawn with a ruler. Water. If Earth is a sphere, oceans should wrap around its surface, forming a curve. But water always finds its level. This is its physical property. It doesn't curve. Try pouring water on a ball, it will run off. So how do oceans stay on a spinning sphere? Flights. If Earth rotates at 1,600 kilometers per hour at the equator, why don't airplanes flying east and west have huge differences in travel time? Why do flights remain almost identical regardless of direction? And why does the atmosphere somehow miraculously move along with the planet, synchronizing with its rotation? Antarctica. Why are ordinary people forbidden from crossing this continent? Why are routes strictly controlled and limited by international agreements? What are they hiding there? Why can't you just go and take a journey across Antarctica like any other continent? Science provides explanations for each of these questions: light refraction, perspective, atmospheric rotation, nature protection treaties. But the more explanations there are, the more complex they become, the more additional questions arise. And you get a feeling we're not seeing the world, but a script created by someone else. A script where for every inconvenient question, a complex answer is already prepared. The question that concerns everyone who dares to doubt: why? Why would anyone hide the shape of the planet? What's the point? What benefit does it bring? The answer is simpler than it seems. Control. Absolute, total control over consciousness. If Earth is flat, if there's a dome above it, if stars are lights above the surface rather than distant suns, then everything takes on a completely different meaning. The world ceases to be an accident. Everything is designed, created, has purpose and intention. We are the center of creation, not its byproduct. And whoever controls the narrative about Earth's shape controls the perception of each of us, our place in the universe, our significance, our destiny. That's precisely why the doubter is called crazy, mocked, isolated from society. Not because they're wrong in their observations or questions, but because they threaten power over the consciousness of millions, billions of people. They shake the foundation of the entire modern worldview, and this is dangerous for those who created and maintain this picture. To be fair, science provides logical, consistent explanations for all these questions and doubts.
I can explain.
Photos of Earth are indeed stitched together from several images, but only because no camera can capture the entire planet in one frame from orbit. The horizon seems level even from great height due to Earth's enormous size and the limitations of the human eye. The curvature exists, but it's too gradual for our perception. The atmosphere really does rotate with the planet thanks to friction and gravity forces. And this isn't a miracle, but physics. Every argument sounds logical. Every explanation is backed by mathematics and experiments. The spherical Earth model works. It's the foundation of navigation, satellite communications, GPS, eclipse predictions. All of this functions and gives accurate results. How is this possible if the model is incorrect? But logic doesn't kill doubt. It explains it, justifies it, but doesn't destroy it. Doubt doesn't live in the realm of evidence and formulas. It's about trust, about faith, about whom we're willing to give the right to define reality. The flat Earth theory ultimately isn't a dispute about geometry, not a discussion about physics. It's a story about how truth is imposed on us through education, media, and culture, and we accept it on faith, without demanding personal verification, without asking uncomfortable questions. Maybe Earth really is a sphere. Maybe all these doubts, all these inconsistencies, are just coincidences, misunderstandings, the result of insufficient knowledge of physics. Maybe official science is right, and doubters simply don't understand the complexity of the world structure. Wake up, look around carefully. Cast aside for a moment everything you've been taught. Forget textbooks, authorities, experts. Ask yourself one simple but fundamental question. Have you yourself seen what Earth is like? Or have you simply believed what you were shown in pictures and told in school?